Hello, everybody.
Good afternoon. Look,
Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving.
yeah, absolutely. So, what a great holiday. It's my favorite.
Mine too. It's no presents, no BS, just family and food. So family, friends, and food. So it's
Crazy pants.
exactly. So today, I don't want to take up too much time. I just want to add some insight. I took the trainer for the 2023 legal updates, which one gives me the ability to teach those classes, but two, more importantly, I got a lot out of it. I really did. I'm really excited to teach this section. I think it's going to be really, really interesting. I think it's going to create some great conversation. But I think the most interesting thing I got out of it was how diverse Texas is. You know, this class was an online course taken. There were over 70 instructors on the class. We had attorneys from the Texas Real Estate Commission. We had Texas Association realtors on the call. So it was a great hotbed of knowledge. And so much of the class is dedicated to stuff that some people really, really need to know. And some people, it means absolutely nothing. I mean, there was a whole section there and there about green belts. And the 7 people in El Paso were like, what's a green belt? We don't even, it's not even a thing. And it's kind of interesting and scary to think about the fact that a Texas real estate license allows you to do the entire state of Texas, commercial, residential, property management, land and ranch, all of these different aspects of real estate. And it really shows the true meaning and need for geographic competence. And I think that's something that we don't really spend enough time thinking about and understanding, that you really need to have an understanding of your community. You need an understanding of what's going on, what's happened in the past. And you need to know, I mean, even in El Paso is a diverse community where East Side, West Side, Horizon, all these different areas have completely different communities, attitudes, have completely different pricing structures. And if you just sit there and say, the second you're saying, hey, I want to do this because it's an easy paycheck, it's probably a good chance you're going to get in trouble. A huge thing was when residential agents try to do commercial.
Right.
When commercial agents try to do residential.
Yeah.
I mean, it's when you're outside of your comfort zone, you're learning, but you may be learning at the detriment of your client, and that's when it gets dangerous. So I think it was a really gut check moment for me to think about and truly understand the importance of the idea of geographic competence. And even though you're licensed to do it, doesn't mean you probably should.
Well, at the end of the day, too, you're trying to get the deal closed. So that's why we have referral systems. That's why we move over and find people that are educated in either that area or that field, and allow them to go do the work. And greed is a terrible thing. And 99.9% of the time when we do this, it's out of greed. It's not out of our client's best interest.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you look at a guys like, hey, I want to buy a $5 million property. All I can think is, heck yeah, I need a boat.
Yeah.
But what I should be thinking is, if you're going to be buying a $5 million commercial property, I should probably put you in the hands of someone who's going to make sure you're getting taken care of. And I don't want to have to learn things at the detriment of you. And the second you start thinking I should do it because it's a better paycheck, is one, it's bad for your client and it's bad for you, because there's a very good chance you're going to end up, at the best case scenario, in trouble with TREC, worst case scenario, without a license or in jail.
Well, and I always would tell, especially the newer agents that would come in and want to do commercial, is that, what you really want to do is close that deal. Right? If you don't know anything about it, it's not going to get closed. So you're not going to get that big paycheck.
Right.
Work with somebody that can help you get your client closed. That's at the end of the day, that's what we're all trying to do, is have a willing buyer and a willing seller, and everybody kind of smile when they leave.
Oh, exactly. It's like the age old, I say all the time, I'd rather $100,000 deals than $1 million deal every day of the week, because $100,000 deals are going to sell a whole lot quicker and easier.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. So that's just kind of my takeaway. I can't start teaching this class until January of 2022, but I'll tell you guys, I'm really looking forward to teaching it. I think it's got some really cool stuff in it. Really good conversation pieces. So it's going to be a good 2 years. I have passed both tests. So luckily I got 100 on both tests. So that means I should be qualified to teach. Just waiting on my certificate, but I can't teach till January anyway. So that's pretty much all I got, guys. It was a good takeaway. I did a good tea with Andrew yesterday with a portion about love letters. So if you did not see that, please go watch that, because I think it's some good points in there that we need to think about, and something that other states and Texas Real Estate Commission is actually looking into as well. So
yeah, and I tuned into that, and I'm gonna tell you that made really, really good. It's something I've been fighting for years now, because I just know it's going to get us somebody in trouble.
Oh, and it has. There's actually already cases of it.
So just be, then I guess my only question to that, then you might could answer it for me now, is that if it's turned into me, do I have the responsibility to give that to my client?
And the conversation has been had, and it was had back and forth quite a lot on Tuesday with all the different instructors. And if it's not a part of the contract, we don't have to do it. We have to deliver all contracts. It doesn't have to mean we have to deliver, pieces of paper and things. The best idea is how we ended it on yesterday was have this conversation early at the listing presentation with your seller, and how your seller just writes something down. I do not want to see any love letters, because they're going to be the ones who are putting in a bad position, not the buyer's agent possibly, but the seller's agent and the seller are the ones who are going to be sued for fair housing violations if something goes wrong. So just some scary stuff, some interesting stuff. But it was kind of funny to see the diversity of realtors on that call, which was kind of cool about the Zoom call that we did. Now, Zoom calls, I'll be honest, it's hard to pay attention for 7 hours. We were there for 7 solid hours, but it's much easier when there's truck attorneys staring at you saying, if I don't see your face the entire time, you don't get credit. So it made it much easier to pay attention, I will say, than my normal Zoom call. But it was cool just getting all the different aspects and ideas, because, you got El Paso Desert people going like, we don't even know what a greenbelt is. Or other people are like, oh, no, I got 4 in my backyard. It's a huge issue. It's a huge conversation. Yeah. So it was cool. It was interesting. So
yeah, very nice.
With that, we got part 2. Can't talk to us.
Okay, so a couple things. Just one, I want to let you know that I am going to start a 100 Days to Greatness Buffini class in January. Starting
nice.
It will be live and via Zoom. So if anybody's interested, reach out to me at kentbush.com, and I will get you lined up for that. It is a paid course by Buffini, so it's one of those things that's how he makes his living. But 100 Days to Greatness is one of the premier agent trainings out there. If you haven't ever taken it, I highly recommend it. I've taken it like 7 times. So it's one of those things that, I'm a little slow, so I'd have to beat it into my brain. Okay, so get the opportunity, we'll send that out. Let's talk today a little bit about the next step in your business planning. All right, so we talked mostly about time and getting your calendar laid out last week, making sure that when all your hard dates are in there, weddings, anniversaries, all those kind of things, get that in place. Then now it's time to step to that next step and figure out, what kind of income do I want to earn? And one of the things that people don't, I think they make the mistake of, they say, I'm going to sell 25 units this year. Okay. So 25 units could mean anything, in El Paso, that might be what, 180, 200,000 average sales price,
Right.
Yeah. In Frisco, Texas, that might be 600,000 average sales price. Right. So you can't just say, I'm going to sell 25 units. Right. What you have to do is come up with the number that you need. Okay. And you got to remember that number has to be after all your expenses and all your taxes. And please, please, please put money back for your taxes, guys.
It's a hard lesson to learn.
Yeah. Unfortunately, most of us have learned it the hard way. And so just please do that. That's one thing that you have to do. So you got to start out with that. So if you don't know, if you're new at this and you don't really know what a good number is for your area, what your average sales price even is in your area. Most of the time you can find it in your statistics on your MLS that you have available to you, but you can always go to your manager or your broker. They're going to know the average sales price in your market, and they're going to know what it's going to take. So for an easy number, let's say I want to make $100,000 a year, right? Well, I know right off the bat, I have to make at least 125 to 130 just to cover the taxes, right? So we know that's the beginning of the starting point, right? And then you got to go down there and have to break down all the other things that you pay for, your MLS dues, right? Your office fees, paper for your computer. I mean, ink. I mean, all that adds up. Now, all that can come in if you find the right CPA. And trust me, I'm not an attorney or CPA. Let's make that clear. Yeah, but I would tell you, find a good one. Usually in your office or around the real estate community, you'll find people that use somebody that understands real estate law. Right. And you really want somebody in there that kind of understands how real estate works and how you get paid. So keep that in mind when you're out there looking for a CPA to move forward. But first thing you got to do is get that number. So that number means, that number is the number that I'm putting together to make sure my family is taken care of in the manner that they expect to be taken care of, which means food on the table, cars in the driveway, and a little spending money on the side. We're not, I don't believe that you come in, even a brand new age. I think wealth is something that's accumulated over time. Right. It's not done in a matter of 1 year. Every once in a while you hear that wild story that something great happened, but in most cases it has to do with persistence and consistency. Right. So if we just stay persistent and consistent, we're out there. But again, we have to know what it is we're shooting at. What is our goal? Okay. So if my goal is $100,000 a year, I know I have to make a minimum of 125 to 30 just to cover the tax piece of it. And then I'm probably going to have another $20,000 in expenses easy, if not more than that. Okay. All right. So you got to lay those things out. And there's tons of places out there. You can go to Buffini's website. He's got a great business planning Excel spreadsheet you can use. I mean, it matters how geeky you are. I do a lot of it on paper and then hand it to somebody to put into an Excel spreadsheet for me. Oh, that's the way I've always done things. Right. but we break it down. And then the next thing you got to do is after you figured out how much you want to make, right? Then you got to figure out what activities do I have to create to make that happen. Right. So that's all part of your business plan, and that can be, I can promise you this right now. Very few people in the United States make in excess of $100,000 a year and only work 10 hours a week. Okay. That's just doesn't work that way. Right. Right. So you got to figure out how many hours am I working. The worst thing that happens to real estate agents is their whole family don't think you have a job.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's 2:00 on Thursday afternoon. They're like, can you go down and pick up something at the pharmacy? It's like, no, I'm working. The pharmacy's open when we come home. It'll still be there, and so, and when my mom was around, that was the big thing with my brother and sister. Well, just go down there and do that. Well, okay, I can't, I'm working. And so be sure that you have that conversation with the people around you to let them know that here's the time I'm going to work, right? And once I know what those times are, then I got to create those activities. Now, I know everybody that listens to this generates leads in a different way. I'm a sphere of influence guy, always have been. It's always worked out the best for me. But I know some of you are doing leads off the internet and different things like that. You got to know what that lead source is, and you got to know the activities that you have to put into that lead source to get it to pay. All right. And so that's why we track everything. Right. And that's one of the things that I think is the biggest weakness we all have is we say we're going to track everything and we know we're supposed to track everything. And then we look up at the end of the month and go, dadgummit, I didn't track anything.
Huge problem. And this thing is, where did the lead come from? Where did it truly come from?
Right.
Is it a sphere of influence lead? Was it a cold call? Was it off a sign?
Right.
I think there's an amazing book out there talking about the whirlwind. You last class you talked about picking out your classes.
Right.
Rick Snow, he's an agent in El Paso. He's an instructor, just a really smart guy, good friend. Mm-hmm. Said something to me one time, and I thought it stuck with me. It was amazing. He's like, the problem when you go to these conferences and classes, you're going to get buried in knowledge. Mm-hmm. Learn 3 things. Concentrate on learning 3 things at everything you go to. Right. Come back and actually implement them. Right. There's a book out there about managing the whirlwind. The problem is you go to these conferences, you go to these classes, you go to anything, and you get motivated and you get ideas, and then you come back and life happens, and you're dealing with stuff, and you're working with stuff, and you're handling stuff, and all of that gets shelved, and you're worried about it later. You've got to make sure in your trainings and everything that you are handling your whirlwind. Mm-hmm. Calls are never going to stop, hopefully, or if they do, they got a bigger problem. Right. The problems are never going to stop. You got to set your time for This is when I'm going to do this and actually do it. This is when I'm going to do this and actually do it. I hear people, we talk about all the time. It's like, schedule something in here and say you're working with a client. It's like, well, what if the client calls? Well, what if a client called when you were actually working with a client? Well, I wouldn't be able to help them. There you go. You got to make sure and work it. I taught at the Real Estate Academy yesterday, and I said something I say a lot. I was like, the best thing about this business is no one tells you when to work. The worst thing about this business is no one tells you when to work. And we can all agree that if no one's telling you when and how to work, it's really easy to not.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, keep, you got to keep those things in mind when you're putting this plan together. Right. And then once you get it together and you know what that dollar figure is, you know what time it takes and the activities that you're going to use. Now, remember to put those expenses in because they're part of it. Right.
Absolutely. Gas right now is about doubled. So
yeah. Wow. But that's a whole nother line we could go down somewhere. I'm
not worried about the why. I'm worried about the what.
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. So the business plan doesn't have to be some long, hard, complicated thing. It needs to be something that you can look at on a weekly basis, that you keep close. I can tell you guys, here's mine right here. It's written out and I handwrite stuff and the kids will type it for me later. When I say the kids, that's my team that works with me. They're my kids. So that helps, right? I have my book, right? And it all goes in here. And I keep this in this book all the time, right? There's two things I always have in this book. It's my business plan and a copy of the 1-to-4 family contract, right? and those two things keep me out of a lot of trouble, right? So if we'll start thinking about your business as a business, right? It always is amazing to me when I see a real estate agent go from being just an agent that's licensed to a business owner. And it's almost just like that. They go, if I manage this thing like a business, there's actually some money here, right? And if I manage this thing like a business, there actually is some freedom in being a real estate agent, right? Yeah. But if you're just going flying by the seat of your pants, if the first thing you do every day is open up your email and see which way it's going to run you that day, right? You don't have a business plan and you don't know what your activities are. Okay. That's what I know about that. So, I don't open my email till pretty late in the morning, to be honest with you guys. And that irritates some people out there, and I get it and it's okay, but it keeps me on track. The number one person I have to keep on track is me. I don't, nobody else is going to stand over my shoulder and say, Kent, are you doing your job today?
Well, and like, as we say, you're all private, unless you're a team leader or part of a team, you are a one-man or woman business.
Right.
And you are the motivator, the cheerleader, the inspirator, the everything. Right. You can blame your broker, you can blame your office all you want, but at the end of the day, no one can make you work but you. Right. A broker is not allowed in any way, shape, or form to set hours you have to work, places you have to be. You are an independent contractor. You are a private organization run by yourself and in charge of yourself. And for some people, that's really easy. Some people live at home with mom and dad. Their bills are paid. They're fine. Some people, they got to look at their wife and kids or husband and kids or husband or wife or whatever, or their dog or their cat and say, I've got to make sure you get food on the table tomorrow. And what is the motivation you need? How hungry are you to get that deal?
Right. Yeah. And, so guys, just get those plans in place, set the goals, next week we'll talk about physical goals and what we're going to do with the money we earn. But until you come down there and figure out how much money you need to make just to make your life work, the goals are irrelevant. We have to make our life work first. Once we make our life work, then we can go. Now, some of you got, husbands or wives or whatever that make really good money. So you have a little more freedom. And then there was other ones like me. I've always been the breadwinner. My wife's got a good job, but we can't live on it. Right. We had to go earn money. We do every day. So
I'm actually literally lucky. My wife just got a promotion. So I now have a sugar mama. So it's actually really nice. I've been waiting a long time for this moment and, I feel really good.
We're happy for you. We'll have a party.
Yeah. So my want to is other than my pride of I got to still make sure I make more than her.
Yeah.
Pretty excited for my wife.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Well, congratulations, Stuart. But all right, guys. So really, that's the main thing between now and next week. Make sure you get your numbers put together. Make sure you understand what you're spending money on. Make sure where it's going. Make sure you're putting some back for taxes. I highly recommend you put some back. Because here's what we know about real estate: is the market does this. It's going to do this. There's going to be nothing here.
And what you said with the numbers is true. I mean, take a true look at what you're paying for, what you're, I mean, sometimes when you do that, it's a gut punch when you realize how much you spend on lunches every week and how much you spend on this or that, or is this necessary? Every once in a while, it's a good idea to cancel all your credit cards and start over. And then you'll start getting calls. It's like, hey, because you don't even realize you got an automatic payment for something that you haven't used in 6 years and you're still paying for it every month.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So there's some good opportunities out there, and this is a good opportunity to budget plan for the year and be like, okay, do I need this? Is this important? Can I get it cheaper or free somewhere else? Right. Is it something that my brokerage can provide for me? Is it something the board can provide for me for free? Yeah. And it gives you that opportunity to say, okay, all right, now I got it.
And when you look that deep, you'll be surprised at how many things you pay for twice. That have the same, they do the exact same thing, and you got two of them.
Or you pay for that you've never used.
Right.
Also, that's also a scary realization.
Yeah. So take the time, guys. Look into it. Andrew and I just want you guys to be successful. We want you to live the good life. And that's we believe real estate can do that. It's done it for us. It's done it for hundreds of people we worked with and know, and we want it to be the same way for you. But you got to do the little things that make the difference. And if you'll do the little things that make the difference and just keep stepping forward on this and get your plan in place, and then look at it throughout the year, please. And let's go out there and let's let you live the good life also.
Absolutely. Guys, appreciate it. We'll see you next week. And next week we're going to go finish up this section and have some more good conversations. So appreciate it. Kent, you have a great one.
You too, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Good to go.